Good morning. Good morning, everybody. While you're settling in, I wanted to go ahead and get started. If y'all want to wait to pick up your stuff to take home with you till after the presentation, it's going to be available all morning. Why don't we get started with a prayer? The Lord be with you. Merciful God, who sent your messengers, the prophets, to preach repentance and prepare the way for our salvation. Give us grace as we approach the season of Advent to heed their warnings and forsake our sins. Help us, dear Lord, to prepare our hearts so that we may greet with joy the coming of Jesus Christ, our Redeemer, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. So, how many of you guys at the end of the Christmas holidays look back and think, I have got to find a different way to do this? I don't think a single Christmas has gone by in my entire life when Christmas afternoon came around and I didn't feel that way. It feels like I tried to do way too much, and the perfectionist in me wants everything to be perfect, the exact number of gifts for everybody, all that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that gets us into trouble. That's where we end up getting into trouble. So the beauty of Advent is that it's a period of time when we are preparing, but not preparing our homes. We're preparing our hearts. We're preparing our hearts and our lives not just for the birth of Jesus, but for the second coming of Christ the King. So you heard Catherine refer to today as Christ the King Sunday. Today's the last Sunday in that long season after Pentecost. Next week, Advent starts, and that's when we begin preparing our hearts for not just the coming of the baby, but the coming of Christ the King. So, what I've done for you this morning is pull together some traditions, some tips, some different tools that you can take home with you. This is for all ages and stages, for people who have 5 kids and for people who have no kids, for people who've been married 30 years and for people who don't even think about getting married because that's just not in their wheelhouse. So this is for everybody. You want to prepare yourself in a spiritual way, not so much, like I said, your house, even though, of course, that's going to happen, but you want to take time to stop and think, what does this season actually mean? So, it's like the season of Advent. What does it actually mean? How many of you guys, when you were growing up, observed Advent? Hands. So not a whole lot of you. My mom was she was so adamant that it was Advent until Christmas Eve, that for years our tree didn't go up until Christmas Eve. I mean, she was really strict about it. I used to feel like people in the neighborhood thought that we didn't believe in Christmas because our stuff didn't go up until their stuff was coming down. But it was kind of cool. It was different, but I'm not sure that I appreciated it when I was a kid. So, if the word Advent means coming, or parousia, which means the second coming of Christ, and the season of Advent, like I said, begins 4 Sundays before Christmas. And it's a time of preparation. So what are we preparing for? I've already kind of told you the big secret. We're preparing for Christ. We're preparing not just for the birth, but we're also preparing for the second coming. And it marks the beginning. This is something a lot of people don't think about. The first Sunday in Advent is like New Year's Day. It's the beginning of a brand new year. So, in the church calendar. So for you church nerds, who can tell me which liturgical year we're going to be in? That's right. Frank kind of cheats. He knows this stuff because he's been there. It's going to be season A. So we're starting the 3-year cycle all over again. A, then B, then C. And for some of you, you probably realize as we go through each year, we read almost the entire Bible. We skip a few things, but for the most part, we cover the entire Bible over the course of the 3 years. So it marks the beginning of a new year. And so what I want you guys to think about is with a new year, you can bring new traditions into your home. And I want this to be something that's not another thing you have to do. I want it to be something that's easy and something that you will enjoy either as a family or if you're single, you can enjoy it yourself. So, slide 3. So traditions you can take home with you. So the Advent wreath, everybody thinks of the Advent wreath, right? I made ours early so I could bring it, and I brought ours. It's over there on the table. That's just one example of what an Advent wreath can look like. And we have the kits for sale. So the kits include either this size ring or the smaller ring. And I'll give you a hint. The smaller ring fits on a dinner plate. So if you like to put yours on a dinner plate, the smaller ring kind of works better. Got the big ring too, which works great. And then you get these funny little spiky things that you put in the Oasis for your candles. And then there are greening pins in the little bag. I like to use a long piece of greenery and then pin it so it doesn't poke straight out, so you can kind of cover the sides. And the other thing I like to do, and you might have noticed if you looked at mine, I like to mix up the types of greenery. I had included a slide with all the types of greenery and what they meant, but it made it too long and I couldn't email it to Sheila, so it got cut. But I like to use Pittosporum, I like to use spruce, I like to use, there's holly over there, and I know, seeded eucalyptus. Now, all of that I just described grows in your yard or in your neighborhood. Seeded eucalyptus probably doesn't, but you can get it at a florist. And I like it because I like the different textures. And if you will soak this first. Next slide. So that's the Advent wreath that I made that I brought to show you guys. And you'll see there's the 3 blue candles and the 1 pink, and we'll get to that in a minute. One of the things about the roundness of the wreath, what does the roundness of the wreath represent? Who can tell me? Y'all know, eternity, yeah, eternity. So it's kind of like a ring, it's round, and so it represents eternity. The greenery represents life, and the lights of the candles represent the light of Christ that came into the world. And the different colors have a different meaning as well. And I'll explain that in a minute. Right there, okay. So somebody told me what they had been doing was spritzing their Oasis with water. No. What you do is you put it Oasis side down in a bowl of water. It doesn't take very long, and it will soak it up. If you spritz it, it's just going to be on the outside, so when you stick your greenery in, there's not going to be any water inside. So you want there to be water all the way through your Oasis. And after you get it made, see, I put mine on a plate. That way, over the season, I'll just take a little water and pour over the top of it, like every other day, depending on how warm or cool your house is, the Oasis will begin to dry out. I put my Advent wreath together a week before Advent started, and if I keep it watered, it will be pretty all the way through Christmas. Greenery lasts for a really long time. It may be kind of pricky, but it will last a long time. So you put the candle holders in equal distance around. Next slide. And then just start filling in with greenery. And see, I started with the variegated Petiosporum, and then I just gradually added holly and the spruce and the seeded eucalyptus. And you just keep going until you cover it up. It's super simple. Cut your stems kind of short, because if they're very long, they're going to poke all the way through and they won't get any water. So cut your stems kind of short, and it doesn't have to be perfect. The one thing about Advent I want y'all to focus on is there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can do it your way. Some people, when I get into telling you about the candles, I bet you some of you who have been doing this before will have a different name for the candles that I'm going to tell you about. There are lots and lots of different traditions. We use the blue candles because that's tradition in England. You may see purple used for Advent, which is fine too. Purple represents royalty. The blue is what we use because that came from England, and the blue has a meaning as well. So I'll tell you real quick about the candles. So let's see, hold on. So the blue is the liturgical color that signifies a time of prayer, penance, and sacrifice in the church. Because of our Anglican or English roots, we use the blue because that's what they use in England. The first Sunday's candle, the first candle you'll light, will be one of the blue candles, and it symbolizes hope. And it's sometimes called the prophecy candle. One thing you'll notice about our readings during Advent is we'll focus a lot on the prophets. Because why? The prophets told us about the coming of the Messiah. And so that's what we're thinking about during Advent. The second Sunday's candle is also blue, and it represents faith. And in some traditions, it's called the Bethlehem candle, as a reminder of Mary and Joseph's journey to Bethlehem. And in some traditions, this candle represents the peace that we find through faith in Jesus. The third Sunday's candle is pink, and it represents joy, and it's called the shepherd's candle. And it's meant to represent the joy that the world experienced at the birth of Jesus, as well as the joy of anticipation that the faithful feel as we approach Christmas. And the fourth Sunday's candle is blue again, and it marks the final week of prayer and preparation. It's sometimes called the angel's candle, and it symbolizes peace. And it reminds us of the message of the angels, peace on earth. And some people on Christmas Eve will add a fifth candle. We put a white candle in the center that represents the birth of Jesus or the light of Christ. And so that's just one way that our family does it. Let's see. So the next thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about are the Advent calendars. So Jennifer ordered some gorgeous Advent calendars for those of you who want to purchase one to take home. It will be something that will be an heirloom in your family. It's intended to be used every year. Jennifer and I think Kathleen both said as children they had this same calendar, and their parents brought it out every year. We also have some calendars over there that you may have seen that are great big that the kids can take home and color. On each of the days, there is a special reading and a prayer, and on some days, an activity. So that's one of the ways that you can celebrate Advent. Instead of each day there being a small gift, there can be an activity that you do, like serve at a homeless shelter, or take canned food to church, or check on your neighbor, or find your postman something that you think would be happy for them and put it out on your mailbox. Each day you can do something. The idea is that you are giving and not just receiving during this season. Let's see, what else? So we've got the kits for you, and you don't have to buy the entire kit. You can buy it in pieces. Like if you've already got something at home that you use, you can buy just the candles. And the other thing we've got are these brass rings. So these are super simple. All you do is put it on your table and put your candles in, and then you've got your Advent wreath. And you can take a little greenery if you want to and sort of circle it in and around if you want to. But this one is super simple. And there's also one back there that the kids can color that have the different colored lights on it. And so if you want to do that, you can do that as well. Something, though, that I recommend, put it somewhere where you will see it every day. When our son was at home, I made a point of us eating dinner at the dinner table every night. And so our Advent wreath was on the dinner table. Well, what about families that don't always eat at the same time? You can still find some time, even if it's just before you go to bed, to light the candle, read the reading for that day, and say a prayer. There are some pamphlets back there that I put together for you that have a prayer for each week, and you can say that prayer when you light your candle. The other thing to remember is that if you don't eat at the dining room table, wherever you sit down, that's okay too. So it's just Stan and me at the house right now. So guess where we eat? We eat in the den around our coffee table. And so guess where my Advent wreath is going to go? It's going to be in the den on our coffee table. And that way we won't forget about it. But put it somewhere where you can see it, where it will remind you of the season. So we've got the Advent calendars for y'all to take home. There are also several books back there that you can either purchase or that are free for you to take home. Each one of those has something different in it that you can read for every single day. One of the most important things that you can do is try to mark each day as special. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, this is the way they will grow up with this tradition, is if you do it now with them in your home. We have a, let's see. Oh, and so if you want to make your own Advent calendar, let me jump back to the wreaths. What I hope you guys will do, the reason we didn't have an Advent wreath making workshop today is because we wanted to talk about what Advent really meant. And if you were building your Advent wreath, you wouldn't have been listening probably. So, anyway. So take your Advent wreath kit home, whatever kind you want to make, and do it if you have family members at home. Do it as a family and talk about it as you're making the wreath, about why it's important and what you're doing, what this means. The other thing is you can make your own Advent calendars. So, because of the gift of the internet, you can go online and find something about anything. So I went online, and those are two websites that popped up, and all I did was put in ideas for making your own Advent calendar, and all these websites popped up. You can go on either one of those links, and there will be tons of ideas of how to make your own Advent calendar. Next slide. Right, okay, so that's the one that we have hung in our house every year since Sawyer was about 2 or 3 years old. And there's a little pocket for each day. So the big deal was he was to go and pull out each day what was in the pocket. Sometimes it was a little note that said, count the number of windows in your house and put a dime in a collection jar for every window to give thanks for the light of Christ. Or there would be something like search for the meaning of Advent. And we'd have like a little hide and seek kind of thing where he had to go look and find something that was wrapped that would have something inside it that would say the meaning of Advent. You can do it any way you want to. It doesn't have to be candy. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be something you went out and bought. It can be something that you made that you put in there. So these are some ideas. Yesterday I was out and I was at Hobby Lobby, and they have these little cardboard boxes that you can buy. You can make your own Advent calendar and decorate them with stickers or get your kids to paint them and put something in each one of the boxes. And each day they open a box. This is another one that someone had made. It's just a sheet of paper with these clothespins attached to it, and each one of those is an envelope, and they're numbered and there's something in them. You could decorate them with stickers, so that's something else fun you could do. And that wouldn't cost anything. And then this is another one. They just did this on their wall, I think, in the kitchen, and they're all different sizes of red envelopes, and they're numbered, and there was something in each one for the people to pull out. You can do that as a couple. If you don't have kids, it's still fun to do. You can put all kinds. So yesterday, I actually saw something you could use to make these. They were parchment cones that you can buy at craft stores to make a charcuterie thing. And so these are just paper cones that they made, and they put the red hearts for the noses and a little twisty thing to hang them from, and they made antlers. And each one of those, so the noses should have numbers on them, and that was the way, and they did it on a bulletin board. So see, there's all kinds of ways that you can do it. They're fun, they're simple, they're creative. This was just a piece of wood that they found out in the yard, and they hung those brown lunch sacks. Remember the brown lunch bags that we used to use to take our lunches to school in the dark ages? That's how they made that. They had cords and little clips that went down, all the way down on the cords, and they hung all the numbers on there. And you don't have to do it in order. That way your kids have to look for the right number. But that's another way. The point, though, is not to do something necessarily clever or expensive or anything like that, but it's something so that your child each day will think about, will talk about the coming of Christ. We'll talk about the ways that we give back, all the gifts that we've been given. They will be thinking about preparing for Christ and realize that there's a lot more to preparing for Christ than just buying presents. St. Nicholas Night is December 3rd, and one of the things that we're asking of you guys when you come is to bring canned goods or non-perishable food items. The focus is giving back. And so you can make that your focus during Advent. Let's see. So my next thing that I brought for you guys, I brought a lot of show and tell. One of the things that we like to do during, well, we did it all through Sawyer's childhood, was we like to read. And so I found some books on Advent. This one's Advent Stories for Bedtime, and they have gorgeous illustrations in them. All of these are available on Amazon, but I'm going to have these in the library. You can check these out during Advent. Check them out just for 1 week and try to remember to bring them back, and that way other families can have a turn too. So this one is the Advent Storybook, 25 Bible stories. And the illustrations, again, are just gorgeous. And there are Bible stories for every day during Advent that you can read with your children, grandchildren, You can read yourself, even if you're a 55-year-old kid at heart. So there's that. And then this one is 'Twas the Season of Advent. And this one was especially gorgeous. There were really nice illustrations in it. And if y'all are anything like me, you still like picture books. No matter how old you get, you still like picture books. Last but not least is this one, and this is my very favorite. So this is like a board book. It's not like a board book. It is a board book, but it's the most gorgeously illustrated board book I've ever seen. So for every day, it opens, and there's a special verse, there's an illustration, and there's a Bible story for every day. It's absolutely gorgeous. None of these books were expensive, and they're all available on Amazon, and they're all going to be available in the library for you to check out. And then this book, a friend of mine who does the Christian education at her church gave me. They had several extras of these. These are faithful families for Advent and Christmas. And each one, there's no pictures, but there's still some really good articles in it. And there's ideas in here about creating a sacred space. And then it's got little tips and things you can do, decorating. It's got reading, spiritual practices. It's a really cool little book, and I think it's $7, and it's for sale back there on the back. Does anybody have traditions at your house that you want to share with us that maybe I didn't talk about, something different, or maybe it's just something that y'all are thinking about doing that you haven't started yet? Anybody? I know in England and in other countries they have different traditions. And so sometimes that's fun to do a little research and figure out, well, you know, our family came from Germany. I wonder what they do in Germany for Advent. Those sorts of things. You can add to what you're doing in any number of ways. But like I said, the important thing to remember is there's no perfect way to do it. There's no right way to do it. The main thing to remember is that you do it, that you do something to help give yourself that sense of peace, that sense of preparation, that awareness that something really special is coming and is going to happen. It's so easy in our society now to get distracted. That's the word, I guess that's the best word I can think of. We can get so caught up. We're getting ready to go out of town for a few days, and it'll be we're getting back right before Christmas. And so I need to, if I'm going to do anything for Christmas, because we're hosting our family Christmas this year, I've got to do it before I leave. And it's against my religion, literally, to decorate for Christmas before Thanksgiving. But I've had to kind of start thinking about that because I'm not going to have time to do it when we get back. I've been out looking at stuff, trying to get some stuff together, and I've been amazed at how crowded the stores already are. It's crazy. People are already, it just doesn't feel right to put Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving. All of that being said, it's not wrong to do it. Just don't let that be your only focus. Try to remember to take some quiet time every day. I know in our hectic lives with lots of schedules and people going a million different directions, with kids doing soccer and with business meetings, with all of the above, it's hard to do, but it's a really important thing to do. You will be grateful come the 25th, that afternoon, if you get there and you don't feel frazzled and you feel at peace and you feel like this season actually meant something. That's the important thing. And then remember, we have 12 days of Christmas. So it's kind of a triad. We have Advent, the Christmas season, and then Epiphany. The three all go together as our nativity story. So we begin with Advent, talking about preparing, and then we celebrate the birth, and then we celebrate the coming of the wise men who proclaim to the world that the Christ has come. So, any questions or any suggestions, anything I haven't thought of? I went through it really quickly because it felt like I had so much to tell you guys. I didn't want to run over. But everything that we've got for sale will be for sale next week as well. So if you get home and you wish you had gotten something that you didn't get, or any of the freebies, all of that will be available next week as well. Let me know if you need any help with anything or if you want any suggestions. There are so many different ways to do this. The important thing is just to do it. So I'm almost out of time, but I wanted to finish with a little time at the end for you guys to look, to pick up anything that you might want to take home with you. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you next Sunday, I guess, for the first Sunday of Advent. Oh, and listen, have a happy, wonderful, safe Thanksgiving, too.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.